All right. Welcome, everyone, to Making a Difference.tv. I have a very special guest this week, Jim Shanks, living on Turtle Island in a place called Port Colborne, Ontario. Jim, welcome to Making a Difference.tv.
Hey Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
good, and we can only see you because, usually I use Google Hangouts, but it doesn't seem to work on your machine for some reason. So we're going to go with this alternative recording method and hope that it works. Yes. So you're doing some amazing activism, but let's just tell people a bit about where you live and how you arranged to live on Turtle Island.
Well, it actually started back in 2008. I was coerced by a girlfriend at the time that we should buy something in the Port Colborne area so she could be closer to her children. And I was living in Oneida at the time, quite happy to be on the reserve. But something drew me to the area here. It wasn't her. It wasn't the good looks or anything else. There was something mysterious that said I had to be here. So as would happen, she eventually just left. But instead of me abandoning everything, I stayed, and I took over possession of the home that I'm in now. I realized why it was because one of the last reported areas of the Gonaweda was this area, and that struck a note a couple of years later. I didn't realize it right away. So I stayed, and I started doing the research of the territory and realized that this here was still part of Chippewa territory. This was not ever ceded to anybody else but the Mohawk claimed this and claimed that, and it's between the Mohawk and ourselves, not Canada or the Crown. Um, the Mohawk do have some claim to some of the areas, and I agree with that. The Seneca have their claim as well, and I agree with that. But the Chippewa also have areas here, and Fort Colborne, Wainfleet, and most of Niagara, Niagara on the Lake, as well as parts of Niagara Falls, especially with the area called Chippewa, that's Chippewayan land. It was never deeded to anyone. Now, where they have their deeds and such is something else. So I notified everyone. I notified the township of Port Colborne. I notified the region of Niagara. I notified the Governor General of Canada. I notified INAC that I was taking my home that I'm in, which is not bound by any kind of financial strains to a bank or whatever. And I said to him, says, look, this land is being turned back into Chippewa land for the time being, until I decide how much more we're going to take back. And they agreed to it because they took the money that I sent to them 2 years in a row. And then they decide, well, we're not going to do this. No, you have to pay taxes. I said, excuse me, we don't pay taxes to you. This is our land. What are you talking about? You're supposed to pay taxes to us if there's any taxes. We never have taxes.
I love it.
Indians never collected taxes from other Indians, okay? We collected tariffs, and let's say you came hunting, you caught, let's say, 5 deer. So you give 1 deer back to the community and thank them for, using their land. But that was the extent of it. It wasn't ongoing. So the idea of taxation is definitely colonial. And it's like, well, if you want to start talking taxes and you talk about this, title and underlying title, people don't realize what that all means. When you buy a home as a Canadian, and I say Canadian as corporate, you're buying the 6 inches, actually it's 3 feet now, of the top surface of the land with your home. Anything under that, okay, is owned supposedly by the state. The state being the city, the township, whatever, the provincial, whatever you want to go there. That's called underlying title. And that's why they put their pipes at those depths, okay? Underlying title means that they don't have to pay you anything to put those pipes in. But being Chippewa, being native, I also have underlying rights to everything. Not just title rights, underlying title rights. So that means all the pipes and all the gadgets and all the telephone poles stuck in the ground have to pay rent to us, and they haven't. Not a dime. Not even to the trust fund. And that's something else I'll get into later. So basically, it's now in the courts. The judges have had a motion in for permanent injunction. It's been going on now since May. It is now July. There's another date set for the 26th. at which time the Indian Affairs has been ordered to show up this time. They haven't showed up before. They're part of the defense, but they don't appear. And I'm kind of saying, well, why don't they appear? If they're so righteous and they know everything, appear. So the judges ordered them to make an appearance this time around. And I put to the lawyer, as you know, I spell lawyer, Lawyiar, of the place called Port Colborne. I put it to them and says, you're trying to look for a way for me to not have to pay taxes, like, am I a church, am I this, am I that? I says, we conduct a lot of things. We conduct ceremonies, we conduct social connections. We have business that we run through it, for the different nations and such. So it's a multitude. And the lawyer responds that, well, my area is classified as residential. And I said, how can you classify anything? You don't own the land. You show me the deed that says that Port Colborne owns the land. And if the deed was issued, have issued by a Chippewa. We've been here 13, 14,000 years.
It was all stolen.
You've been here 3, 4. Well, yeah. I mean, the crown just weird. We claim this in the right of His Majesty King George or King 8, whatever you want to talk about, kings, queens. All of them gay. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna get flack for that. I really don't care. I mean, I go back. I'm old school, right? But the thing is that it's like you can't make a claim just because you say make a claim. There are rightful people in an area long before you. Just like I found out about the idea of the Sulpician monks having a claim to the area called Oka. They never did. Louis XV never gave a grant to the Sulpician monks. The monks gave it to the monks and put Louis's name on it. I proved that 2 years ago.
Right.
Emphatically. I found the original document.
Well, they brought maritime law onto the land. That's the biggest mistake they made legally, right? They pulled up the maritime law onto the common law land, and you base your arguments on common law, right, for the most part?
Well, basically, any agreement that was made with our peoples over the years, okay, up to 1881, okay, which is when the civil law was the common law was sort of pushed aside for the Admiralty law, 1881, 82. Up to that point, everything that dealt with us was common. For example, now they tell us we have to have lawyers and such to represent us in the courts. And I say, that's crap. When we first made contact with you people and we made arrangements, most of it was verbal, first of all. And anything that was signed was basically signed with an X or a mark. So anybody could have signed that for any amount of reasons, okay? Doesn't mean it's binding, but oh yeah, it's binding because you said so. And they stick to it like paranoid psychos that they are. And it turns out that I say to them, we had what called headmen, you call them chiefs, you had speakers. And for myself, I've been appointed as a speaker for many different peoples to speak on behalf of them, individually and collectively. And as such, I represent them in any cases or whatever that we might be bringing before the Crown. Now, the Crown may have designated that into areas they call courts, like federal court and provincial Supreme Court, Superior Court, and such. But we're supposed to go with the lowest court of the land. That was the law. We addressed the trust issue with the lowest court of the land, and there is no longer a lowest court of the land. And not even the Ontario Bar Association there, the Upper Canada Law Society, okay, can come up with something. Because they're the ones that back this idea of the treasonous actions behind their setup. That's what it is. They have lied to Canadians and Indians alike. It's not unreasonable. I mean, after all, your name is lawyer. Don't expect to hear any truth out of your mouth at all.
Well, the present legal system is controlled by lawyers, prosecution, defense, and the judge, and they're basically all work for the same person, the Crown. Is that basically the way it works, James?
Well, the thing is that the crown, okay, it consists of two parties, okay? You've got what they call the royal family, which if you look at some of Tony, I forget his last name, he did a documentary on the actual royal family and found out that they're criminally, they're criminally, they're not the right heirs of the crown. Matter of fact, the King of England lives in New Zealand. He's very much alive today with his daughters and his grandchildren. And when asked if he would take over Crown England, he said, I don't want that pile of crap. He has a better life the way he is. He doesn't care about that. And,
So
that's a good person.
the crown was usurped by someone else in a royal family, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the treaties and all the gump and all the pageantry is all a lie. Like Canada's 150th birthday is a lie. I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be a disgruntled individual. I'm basing it on fact. Trudeau came back with a repatriated constitution in 1982. You can't repatriate something that doesn't exist. Well, if it didn't exist in 1867, then how can you have a 2017 150th anniversary when there's nothing to celebrate? Now, do I celebrate people coming together and having fun and enjoying each other's company? Yes, I fully agree with that. Do I accept the idea that it's because Canada is 150 years old? No. That's the lie. So you have a good thing being attached to a lie, and that makes it a bad thing. Now, if my own home, okay, there will be no taxes here. I had put up for sale. Father didn't want it sold, so it didn't get sold. Creator. My children were all panicking and everything else. They've gone through all kinds of rhetoric and everything else, and confusion and such, and they listened to their side more so because their side seemed to be more powerful than me. And appearance is everything, right? I don't appear very very forthcoming or very aggressive or anything else. I'm but I do know my right. I do know law. I do know how to push it out there if I need to. So this is not going to happen. We're going to the Cree, the Dakotas, and the not Algonquin, the Chippewa, not Chippewa, the Ojibwe, excuse me.
Ojibwe, okay, yeah.
Ojibwe from out west, okay, I've looked at the idea of making this their center for social and commerce between the east and the west, between different nations.
What's this? You mean where you are, or somewhere
where
else?
I am now?
Oh, okay.
That means we'll be flying flags of the Chippewa, the Dakota, the Cree, and the Mohawk right here on my front lawn.
I love it. What do your neighbors think of you? Do your neighbors talk to you about this stuff? Do they know anything?
My neighbors stay away from me now, mostly, but they don't even want to associate with me.
No way.
No, and you know what? Fear is one of the main factors. Jealousy is another. Envy, maybe. And I say this because the envy is, you just have to pay taxes. No, I just had to give up all my land so you could have your home on my land and not pay me for it.
They got a pretty good deal. So
I think they got a good deal.
Yeah. So let's talk about your initiative, because this is big. $71 trillion suit to get access to this Indian trust fund that you said was set up, what, in 1880, around then?
All right.
Or previous?
In July of 2016, there was a gathering of they call the Assembly of First Nations, which is nothing more than an operative arm of the Canadian government. They're not Indians. Anybody with them are just there they're a feed bag. Okay, there's a bunch of money there, and everybody tries to joust to see who's going to get more of the money from that bag.
So you're saying the people who are running the Native communities now are actually working directly for the government. They're false figureheads, and they do not represent the rights of Native people in Canada.
I'll address your question properly in a minute.
Okay.
Back to this, okay? I turned around and I put this. I went to this gathering in July of 2016. And the person sitting at the seat of what's called Indian Affairs, which is the sub trustee's office. You've heard me say that before. The sub trustee of the Indian Trust is Indian Affairs. The person sitting at that chair is an individual called Carolyn Bennett. Well, in July 2016, I served her with what's called the right of first lien, which is something that's never been done before. It's a banking term, and I used to work for the banks. So I learned a lot about their systems, like about the Bank Act, the BNC, I think they called it, BCN, whatever. I read that from cover to cover for Canada, Canadian Bank Act. I've also worked in their branches. I know about loans. I know about retrievals. And in 1763, a treaty was made with the Crown of England, George III. At the time, England was in a really bad shape, really, really bad shape, okay? They were about to lose it all. They had the Americans on one side, okay, wanting to move in. They had the Spanish and the French fighting with them over in the European side. There was just a few years before that, there was the Ottoman Empire and the Battle of Vienna. So all this accumulation came down to basically, really demoralizing and diminishing the British military strength. So there was a capitulation, as one of my native friends would say, capitulation. In other words, France gave in to England and gave over all the lands and such and all the treaties, the whole bit, to England. Hold on a second, I'll get that on hold.
Yeah.
I'm on the line right now, I'll call you back. Okay, I'll turn this off.
Yeah, no problem.
Excuse me, more people wanting to know what's going on. There's another case going on.
No,
So,
you're becoming quite popular, and that's what we need. Yes, good.
1763, okay, England needed allies. So they turned to the Indians, okay, and said, listen, we'd like to live with you, and their language at the time, but basically we'd like to live with you and such, and we'll make a deal with you, okay? That basically, everything that we take from this land, meaning themselves, okay, they would share with us, as well as their colonies. So the agreement was 1/3 each. But you see, as natives, right, we say, okay, 1/3. It's great. If we that's 1/3. But in 1/3, there's a little bit left over, more than 1/3, right? Because 3 times 1/3 is 99. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of 100%?
Yeah, that's 1% left.
You're right, okay? So that 1% actually went back to the crown as well. Needless to say, right? Greed. Well, the king needed his money too, right? Anyways, so this was agreed to. In other words, we could trap and trade and everything else, the whole bit, and then go on with our lives. But whatever they got had to be divided. Their colonies later became the Dominion of Canada under British rule.
Okay, well, can we just go back a bit? What did this treaty said? 1/3 of the commerce was supposed to go to the native people, on whole, across Canada.
Be it water or land. Okay, they didn't include air because there was obviously no airlines back then, right? But it would have included air as well if there had been air. In other words, anything that was gotten from the lands, under the lands, in the water, on the water, above the water.
Will that include taxes?
What taxes? We didn't have taxes. We're talking about if you came into a forest and cut down the lumber and sold the lumber, 1/3 of that profit came back to us.
Right. But they didn't have a taxation system back then?
If you went in and you got fish, you got they say 30 fish, okay, then the proceeds of the 10 fish would come back to us. It was a share. It wasn't a tax.
Okay. Yeah, no. I'm just saying, Were you supposed to get a third of the taxes that they collected from
No, a
Canadians?
third of whatever was produced from the land and the water.
Okay,
Now, whether or
perfect.
not their corporations produced this or themselves made no difference. You see, they chose their avenue of production, not
Exactly.
us.
Exactly.
One third of all the oil pumped, all the gas pumped, the profits from that are supposed to come back to us. They haven't. One third of all the airlines that travel across the territories that don't pay airfare to us, but they pay it to the Canada, one third should come back to us. The railroads, your highways, all these things that create money for the Corporation of Canada or the corporation or provincial corporations, one third is supposed to come back to us. It hasn't been, sadly, for over 200 years. As a matter of fact, back in the 1930s, they were talking about how the Indians would go to see the agent, once a year to get their $5 trust fund. They're giving $5 a year for trusts. It's in the documentation, and now they call it social welfare. It's not. It's supposed to be payments from the trust fund, and that's exactly where the social aid for Indians comes from. It doesn't come from taxpayers in Canada. Our medical doesn't come from taxpayers in Canada. Nothing that we have comes from taxpayers of Canada. As a matter of fact, taxpayers of Canada are taking from us.
Right.
And the evidence is there.
So let me just get this in then. So for about 250 years, you've been accumulating money in this tax fund, or in this not tax fund,
Trust.
in this trust. Sorry, trust fund.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're saying, hey, we want our money.
Right. Well, actually, we haven't accumulated it, you see, because we didn't understand their sense of value on gold and silver and everything else, currency. To us, furs and meat were more important than gold. See, our system of currency was much, well, just like yourself now, you're going away from this, what do you call this?
Fiat currency. Monetary
Fiat currency.
system.
You're going away from that, right? Well, we never had fiat currency. We did work with like furs and meat and grains and the things that we counted, and we traded with that. Okay, so when they came and said, "Well, look, we'll take your part, okay, and we'll invest it for you. And we'll hold on to it, and then we'll give it out to you as each year." Blah blah blah. That went on for a few years. Only a portion of it, not all of it. And if you work out everything that goes on between 1763 and 2009, 2010, 2011, my little computer calculated $117 trillion towards our fund total. That included interests. Now, from that 117, I subtracted what it would take over the centuries, in years, that would actually pay out. And it worked out to about $71 trillion, close to 72. But even of that, okay, a large portion of it was abused by the trustee and the Crown being the executor. They took monies from us to use for themselves, like the Welland Canal was taken from us. And they're saying we're trying to make retribution with Six Nations. It's not Six Nations, it's all of us. Okay, World War I, World War II, we paid for it. We paid for the soldiers to go across. And I say to people today, how many Canadian soldiers died in World War I or World War II? Give me an answer. And no one has come up with the right answer yet. So I'll give you a few minutes on that one. I'll give you the answer in a minute. But the thing is that things like McGill University, a renowned university of the world, paid for by the Indian Trust Fund. We never got a dime out of it. They're on interest. We haven't got the capital back yet. So our money's been abused, and we asked them for a tally. They won't give it to us. Not they don't have it, because the Crown of England knows exactly to the pence what is where. Okay, and our money is sitting in a Rothschild bank, okay, overseen by the Vatican Bank. So there's all these trillions they talk about having themselves, 72 trillion of that minimum belongs to us. Not the Rothschilds, not the Vatican, not the Crown, not Canada, not the PMO's office, but the Indians.
Interesting. So
now let's go back to that question.
Oh yes, about the AFN, is it called? Is that what it's called? Aboriginal.
No. Assembly of First Nations.
Assembly of First Nations. Basically, they don't represent the true interests of the native people.
No, you see, the thing is, Bellegarde here wants to sell off the rest of our inventory for like $85 billion. And this is all honky-dory. I wonder how much Trudeau is putting in his pocket for that. I know, chiefs in the past, these so-called chiefs, have been paid off for doing things for the Crown or for the PMO's office, which is the trustee. I know that for a fact. We all know that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In saying that, okay, I'm not worried about liable suits for that. Not at all. First of all, you can't sue an Indian, number one. Number two, it's the truth. And the truth can be proven.
So 85 billion is a bit shy of 75 trillion or 72 trillion. So it's another ripoff. It's another 1% of what you really should be getting.
And we lose all of our lands.
Yeah. Forever. Not good. Not a good deal. So you got this initiative. You've launched it. Is it in the Supreme Court? What court are you in?
No, it's in the federal court. It was registered in Winnipeg. They've tried twice to kick it out. Once because the paper didn't look proper. It wasn't the format they wanted to see. So either correct it or we're going to get rid of it. So I took my time and I got a bit of help. And I corrected it and they got it done. And then 2 days before the deadline, they say, oh, you're not a solicitor. You need a solicitor. Otherwise, we can't proceed. To that which I filed another declaration stating that I'm a spokesman. I'm a speaker for the peoples that are on that paper. As such, under the laws which this trust was created, I have every right to speak. We do not need a lawyer. We never had one before. I'm not about to engage in your format, in your current format, to address an issue that was brought up in a different frame of reality. Okay? Basically, people say, oh, common law. People say, oh, there's common law, there's civil law. They don't know all these things. Okay, there are two laws, basically. Okay, there's the law of common. There's the law of admiralty. Each one has a criminal and civil division. Now, with the admiralty law, they also have what's called the law of statutes, which is not really law at all. It's just, we decided we're going to make this and this, and it's legislated in by a group, not brought in by the general. Then you have what's called case law. Well, if it was good for that one, then we're going to take that and apply it to this one. And that's our decision. Because I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to get involved, which means the judge is not doing his or her job. They're falling back on something that may or may not be relevant. And that's how the Supreme Court of Canada works, too. Case law.
Right.
So you can politically walk away from things. Free as a bird. And as I stated to them once in a letter, all they saw when I was in that courtroom, because I was in the Supreme Court, I said, all I saw in that courtroom were a bunch of leeches, okay, sucking ass, and 7 skeletons sitting up in front of the bench, quote unquote, the bank, dressed in finely clad garb. I didn't see any human beings except for 3. That was myself, the woman that was with me, and her cousin. Everybody else was legal fiction. And you know what? I never got criticism on it. Can't criticize the truth.
Well, the case is still active, so that's excellent. Kudos to you for moving ahead with it. How many people have signed up in support of it?
There are only about a dozen on the form itself, but it's over 200 altogether. It's just that it's getting Now it's, but we use their terminology called et al. Now. Okay, we do that now. We use it. We're going to Latin terms now, in a way to get them to understand it. There's more, but there's about 200 right now, and we expect by the end of the summer about 2,000-3,000 people signed up for this whole thing, and that's not nearly enough. Okay, but the thing is that of the 2,000-3,000 people, it just means that maybe 20,000 others couldn't find a place to sign up or haven't signed up yet.
Well, how many native Canadians are there in Canada right now?
1.6 million.
Okay. Does that include the Métis who are recently included?
1.6 million.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll probably have a lot more because this is a big initiative, and I think it's awesome. I'm very supportive of it.
Many people don't, Brian, like yourself, when you found out, many people are still not aware of it because media won't cover it. We're not covered by any media at all. No, they haven't touched this. The CBC got a hold of it, and they didn't even bother saying they were going to send a reporter. They ended up not sending a reporter. My case for my house and my home and everything else is like hush. Even the local people don't want to touch it. They're afraid of losing advertising space. Touch this story, and you'll lose as a customer. Nice, eh?
Right.
This is what's happening. This is why we have to get it out through the social media and everything else, and get things moving. I don't need to lie about things, and I don't need to be fictitious. I don't need to be, I am outside the box. I've been told that I was told that years ago when I was instructing aerobics. Yes, I used to teach aerobics, and they said I would never be an instructor because I was always outside the box. Yet it ended up being the third top male aerobic instructor in Montreal. Funny. But yes, I'm outside the box, okay? I don't believe in conformity, especially when conformity means subject to deception. And I don't like deceiving. I don't like those that do deceive. I don't like people trying to gain for themselves at the hardships of others. I think there's enough to go around that we can all live, just like yourself. I mean, your philosophy in life fits in with mine exactly. There's no reason for all this scandal to go on and everything else. I mean, but there are those that feed off of anger. There are those that feed off of fear, and there's those that their self-esteem is so low that they need to be in control, to feel in control of themselves, which was a sad state of affair.
Yeah, I call it the power consciousness. People like to be parasitical. And, it's a lot easier to live off of someone else's labor than your own. So why don't I just line up 1 million people to support me, and I'll just sit back and enjoy life? That's basically what it all boils down to. Yeah. So
well, if they're the parasites, then you and I are the antibiotics.
Well, we're working on it. It's I'm really glad. Now, you said that there's another guy who's got a similar suit, or is it? You said he's trying to use their law to win it, and you don't think he's going to have any.
Yeah, good friend of mine, Greg Bloom. Okay, he started off with the idea that he was traveling without a license. Okay, and went from there. We don't need licenses. By the way, we don't need licenses. We have travel IDs. That's all we need. We don't need to be licensed under the corporations. We don't work for the corporations, so why would we want a license out of them? It makes no sense. He ended up going the whole 9 yards, but see, he likes the idea of fighting with them in their system. He likes to use their techniques and such. So he's in a different path. Okay, he's going from a different way. I'm going head on with the fact that we're native, and that's it, and then we're not going to move from that. But he more or less dresses the part, you might say. Okay. Whereas I'll go into a courtroom in my t-shirt and jeans or my sweatpants and sit down when the judge enters. He'll go in with a suit and get up and bow when the judge enters. And that's the wrong thing. You see, natives don't stand in courtrooms, not because we're defiant, not because we're disrespectful, but because we are respectful. We were brought in as allies of the crown. That's how we were received. And even as such, okay, when four of us went over there to England, they received us the 4 people as kings of the Indian world, okay, which was, we didn't care about that at all, but that was what they said. So allies don't bow to allies, and we especially don't bow to their workers. So for me to bow to a judge would be for me to recognize them as having power over my people, and they don't. They don't have any power. They're supposed to do what I'm asking. They're not there because of a criminal matter or a civil matter. They're because of a trust matter, which is what I've brought up in the courts. This is not about your civil cases and your admiralty law. This is about a trust matter in trust law under common law. Now handle it. The Crown says you're supposed to. Now it's in your ballpark. And they don't know what to do with it. It's very simple, be honest. But honesty has cost some judges their jobs. It's cost a lot of lawyers their jobs. Because they want to do the right thing.
Do you have a date where you have to show up again in their bank, as you call it, versus their court?
26th of this month, July, in Welland. The federal one, I'll give you a date on that one later. We're not finished here. We don't care what the federal court says. We really don't care. We don't care what the Welland court says either, really. Okay, if they go with us, fine. It means that now they're starting to wake up and they want to talk. That's a good thing. But if they start trying to be vicious about it, they're not going to get anywhere fast, because this is not going to end there, okay? We've already got lineups around the world, allies coming in from around the world that are willing to work with us and help us out. And we're going to go with that. So Canada might be in for a really rough ride in the next 2 years. And we expect it will be, because politicians don't want to say they're wrong or sorry. Even Harper's apology to the Native peoples for the residential schools, it's a farce. Because the ex-chief of the AFN walked away with huge amounts of money in his pocket, and the lawyers that worked on these cases walked away with over $100 million in extra fees working on these people with the so-called, schooling, the residential schooling. $100 million. And most of the people involved that were supposed to be paid never got paid. And many who died, the money died with them. Their family never got the money for it. Some are lucky, very few. So it was a hoax. It was a shambles. It was smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, for example, when they
evidently you were paid billions in compensation. Although I don't know how you can compensate someone for being killed, murdered, tortured.
You see, you have to. Okay, getting back to the question about our chiefs and everything else are this, and I'll address that now. Okay, people are not on the understanding of it. Okay, and to understand it, you have first to comprehend it. Check out the word understanding and check out the word comprehend in Black's dictionary. You'll see what I'm talking about. Understanding the chief and council means that they are employees of the trustee. The trustee is the Prime Minister's Office of Canada, not the government of Canada, but the Prime Minister's Office of Canada. And there's a difference. See, the Prime Minister's Office of Canada is the so-called head of Canada, which is the corporation in 1982, not 1867. It's also the trustee for the Indian Trust Fund of 1763, which it inherited through a sequence of events of the Crown itself. So they occupy two offices, but now they've attempted for years to make it one office, one government, one people's, and one trust. You see? And we're saying, no, you're not going there. We're not letting you go there. You're going that way. Your New World Order is going that way. We're telling you, no, you're not going that way. No, it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Okay, let's talk about, I want people everywhere to support you in this. I'm supporting you in my way, but I want all Canadians and all Native people to support you. What's the best way to support you if you're a Native person?
pray. I think on your site you have a thing for Pimastan.
Pimastan? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
in the. I've got it up on First Nations Say Enough.
yeah. Have people contact her or contact yourself. And I say that because not because I want people not to contact me. It's because, Brian, as you know yourself, okay, I'm traveling a lot these days,
Well, I'm
and it's
thrilled
very
to know people are actually paying you to speak the truth about how corrupt this legal system is, that we've gotten away from common law, and that
well.
it's a
Actually,
mess.
my first job that I did there for a group of Native peoples. When I finished with it, they had said it was the best money they spent in a very long time. And I'm like, what?
You
And
know,
I'm
Jim,
so nervous.
all through Standing Rock, I was putting messages out. Stop using their lawyers. They'll get you out on these little charges of being a disruptive protester, but they're not dealing with the real issue. The real issue is everything was stolen.
That's
You got to
right.
get into common law, get this Admiralty treaties thrown out in the garbage, and get your land back. That's what you really want.
Okay, but see, the thing is with Standing Rock, okay, from this side of the so-called imaginary border, we can stop those pipelines, and I intend to. I've been asked to negotiate different agreements now, new agreements with the corporation's called Enbridge and Canadian Pipeline, whatever it's called. There's another one out there too, as well as the Bipole, which is the electric people. And I am not going to be nice. As a matter of fact, they know I won't be nice. Because I was at the meeting already and insulted them from the moment I opened my mouth. The insults were real. They weren't. I wasn't making them up. They couldn't do libel or whatever on me because it was the truth. I told them, I said, you guys lie from the moment you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night. Even at the time when you're sleeping, you're lying about yourself in the dreams. I mean, you don't know how to tell the truth. So we could have stopped that from here. But you see, the thing is about the American side, okay, there were wars. And by act of war, the Americans conquered the native peoples. So there is two ways of working. Either a New Deal, as of now, and a peaceful manner, or they go back to war and reclaim. Because America right now is primed for that. Even their own, first of all, soldiers can't fight on American soil. Okay? That's their law. Against enemies, domestic and foreign, well, the enemies right now are domestic. And it's not the Indians, it's not the people. So we know where the enemies are. That's who must be attacked. As a matter of fact, if the Indians went to war in the States, I'm sure they'd have 2/3 of the U.S. military on their side, including the veterans. And it'd be a glorious thing to see because you know what? That whole nation, I say nation because it's supposed to be a nation. It was a republic at one time. Now it's just a corporation like anybody else. It's like Canada, corporation.
Yeah.
You know, it has to stop. It has to be reversed. It has to go back to a time of human beings. Okay, where respect is the key word.
It's a corporation of death. The
Even our
military.
great law, even the great law of the so-called Iroquois Confederacy. I've asked them many times, you know, what is the great law? Oh, it takes like, I said, what, 8 days to discuss it? Oh, yeah, it's long, it's long. I said, you know what? I can tell you exactly what the great law is in less time than it takes you to yawn and or to cough. And they laugh at me, okay? I said, go ahead, yawn. And I'll tell you what the great law is. So I got a few takers, and they started to yawn, and I go, respect. And they just stopped midstream. What are you talking about? I said, that's the great law. This 8-day of gathering is because they travel hundreds of miles to be together with families and friends and do trade and to do business and to do social things, arrange marriages and all that kind of stuff, talk about families. That's why they spend 8 to 14 days together, because they just come on a very long trip. They don't want to get a long trip, spend 3 hours talking about the great law and go back again. It's not like now you got planes and trains and cars. They came in by canoe and by foot. So the gatherings were long. But the great law, and they spoke about, you know, well, we have to respect Mother Nature. We have to, I said, that's right. Respect Mother Nature, respect the insects, respect the sun, respect each other. But the one word that you use is respect. So if you comprehend the word respect, then everything else, love, honor, loyalty, they all fall into place. And that ended the conversation. So now Jim is the keeper of the great law. Respect.
Or do no harm. There's another good law to respect.
There, see? Respect.
I say it in 3 words, you say it in 1, but it basically gets to the same thing. We cannot live on a planet. We're made of the planet. We're made of the water, the soil, the air, the plants, and have a system that's killing everything and say that it makes sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't work in anybody's interest, the colonialists or the Indians. We have to change this system, so that it respects Mother Nature.
It what? It what?
Respects Mother Nature.
What?
Yeah. No, it's a good way of putting it. I mean, we're all talking the same thing. We got to get rid of these toxins. We got to get rid of, but it's all being pushed by this corporate legal system that is against Creator's law. Yeah.
You know, the greatest treasure a man has is family. And for not to understand that, to not to comprehend that, it's man's greatest weakness. And the family has been broken down by those who would like to break it down. Now, I know for a fact, okay, that there are many fathers out there that have a lot of problems, and they've had no respect from the so-called court system as far as, separation and divorce and children and everything else goes with it. I was one of those fathers that wanted to be part of my children's lives. Oh, I was different. Oh, most men just want to run away, according to what is out there. I don't find that true. So they turn around and they make it so difficult for the man to be able to achieve anything. But then you look at who wrote those laws, those legal fictions, lawyers. And back then, when these legal fictions were put on paper, they were mostly 99% of them were men who were making good money, having a great life, could date any woman they wanted, including their wife was last. They had 4 or 5 mistresses on the side. The whole bit is, for my freedom, I'll gladly give the ex-wife, $1,000 a month to take care of those little bastards that we have, and then I'll go off and take care of myself. And that's the law that they're using today. The same basis, the same chaotic idea that the lawyers brought in back then. Not that decent men work with today or then. So with this whole situation of respect and such, okay, we need to get rid of the lawyers altogether, because they will never respect life. I don't care what they say. They could, I give to this charity and that. No, I don't care. Your profession tells me what you are. Oh, I'm there to make a change. No. You're there to make money. And you figure this is the easiest way to do it. Doesn't require a shovel and pick. Doesn't require getting up and hammering a nail into a piece of board. You sit down and push paper. And it's the worst job on the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we need a small, beautiful community, creating what we need locally, for the most part. Trading, barter, if we want to barter. I think that's probably the most sane way of doing things. Get back to the Aboriginal way. We all need to do that. I don't care if you're white, black, striped. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is the way we're meant to live. We're a pack animal. This is the way we're meant to live. Family, community, neighbors, food, festival, celebration, art, all the higher pursuits. But we're giving all our energy over to these laws, this money system. It's insane. Nobody's going to win. Nobody's going to win in the end. So this lawsuit, I think, is going to hopefully open the gates to a more sane world. at least in Canada. Like I said, I'm really glad to hear that other people around the world are noticing this. Other
Well,
Native people.
The thing about the lawsuit is that it's not just local. It's not just something arbitrary. This is a bank act. Okay, the banking will do that. When you have a mortgage, okay, there is a lien of there's a right of first lien right away by the bank on the premises. They're the biggest lender to you. So if anybody else comes against you, anybody else, okay, first of all, the bank has to be satisfied before anybody else can collect. That's what they call protection of the home, okay, which stays in full effect until the very last payment is made. And I think it's 30 days after that as well. But the thing is that we're the biggest lender to Canada. We're the biggest lender to Canada and to the Prime Minister's office and to the Crown. Don't forget, the Crown's using our money too over there.
Yeah, they're funding all this nonsense: GMO, oil and gas, nuclear weapons.
They're using our money to finance their nefarious schemes.
Yeah.
And we haven't been paid back. Never mind principal. Never mind interest. We haven't been paid back principal yet. Okay, and we've been following these things. We're following the debt. And I tell people, look at Canada's debt clock. Okay, that's the debt clock created by the Rothschild Bank. Of nations owing money to the Rothschilds.
Avowed Satanists, folks.
The Rothschilds have our 71 trillion plus in their vaults in hard gold, and we're doing the same calculation on them as they're doing on the Canada, the Europe, and everybody else. Okay, and right now it's getting close to $72 trillion. And one day we're going to say, okay, open your vault because we're taking it all in. You know, and that there goes your empire. That's we're the only salvation for the world right now. I'm not talking about like I'm some super. I'm not. I'm just an ordinary person. But I've always known the native world is the only one standing between total domination by corporations and New World Order and a return to natural ways of living as human beings. And when my people start following the corporate structures, it bothers me. That just means weakness. But there are still quite a few out there that are very strong. And that's what I want to see, those strong ones. And that's what's coming around today. And a lot of people that are not Native are coming around today as well, which is even better. I really like it, you know? Stand together on things.
Yeah.
Because when you, at the end of the day, if I cut my hand, and you cut your hand, what comes out is red, isn't it?
That's it.
So if it's red, we're all the same, right? Anyways.
Absolutely, we are. Okay, so I want people to support you in what you're doing, whether you're Native or non-Native. And we have Pimastan Gladue is the contact person. They can contact me. You don't want them to contact you because you're up to your eyeballs already in doing lectures, speaking with people, and talking to others in other countries, which is awesome. And
they can also contact the Mohawk Nation office in Ganawagi.
How would they do that? Do you have the phone number?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. Just it's very simple. They're all over. They're all over the Facebook. Everything else. The Mohawk Nation office. Yeah, they've been keeping tabs on things too and such.
Okay.
And they're good supporters.
They are. They're one of the few tribes that never made treaties, right? In Canada.
Well, slowly but surely, they're the so-called powers to be, they call themselves, are trying to whittle away at that as well. And there are those that are resisting and such. But there's a right way to resist and a wrong way to resist. Then there's Jim's way. Which is the creator, actually. Sometimes, Brian, I sit down and people say, how do you do all this stuff? And I say, you know what? It's like I'm sitting on a table with a big puzzle in front of me and all kinds of parts to it. I don't see the box. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what mountains, water, a racing car. I have no idea what it is. But then I started finding some parts. Like, of course, the corner is the easiest thing to find, right? So you find a few corners now, you find a few pieces, and then you get stuck. And all of a sudden, this voice comes into your head from above and says, "Okay, put this one here." So you do that. And it says, "Now put that one here. Put this one here." And you say, "Oh, well, then if I do it, then this goes here, then." And, well, I'm stuck again. Then the voice comes back and says, "Okay, put this one here." That's what it's like with me right now. I know quite a bit, but the parts that I'm stuck at, this voice comes to me and says, "Do this. Make it fit." And when I start looking back at this puzzle, okay, that I'm going through, the pieces are fitting in so easily and so fine. But yet, it seems like it's taken forever to do it. Because man struggles with things. And in the reality of things, the struggle is very small if you let it flow, right? So everything that's going on with me right now is like, everything around me is chaotic. But the puzzle's coming together, and I know what it looks like even. Okay, I'm not gonna see what it is. I know what it looks like right now. I haven't got all the parts in yet. Even though I can put the parts in, I'm still waiting for more information, just to keep in contact. You know. So that's basically what it's all about. This is not all about me. You know, I've done my studies, 7 years of it, which is nothing. I really went into it full force. And then I started applying, the power of prayer and asking, what to do. And then now I'm doing it. And it's like, am I afraid? No. Am I anxious? Yeah, quite a bit at times I am. Am I scared of people? No. I've seen what hell looks like, and nothing man can do compares. So that doesn't bother me. But I also know what truth can do. And they say it can set you free. It's true. But then once you're free, what do you do with that freedom? You see?
Well, this is why I'm a supporter of the intentional community, because they're creating off the grid sustainable ways of living, and that's what we all got to get back to. And and it's the way the natives used to live, and we're going to live that way again eventually. And we can put technology on top as long as it doesn't mess with it. We can use technology for good things too. Yes, all the answers are out there, brother. Well, I think we'll cut things off there. I'm really happy. It's been about an hour now chatting, and I'm going to get this out as many places as I can. I thank you for all your good work. Is there anything you want to say in closing, Jim?
Thanks for all your support. You've done a lot for me. I appreciate it.
Jeez. Oh, I'm glad you see it that way. I don't really think I've done all that much, but I appreciate your bravery, your courage, and it's not easy to walk into these courtrooms and face these lawyers, as you call them, and stare them down. Good for you, brother. And we'll follow up on how this thing's moving along, and then in the future for sure. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Over and out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.